Hello and welcome back to the lair. Today I'm going back to my roots and reviewing a game. This time it's Deathbound. If the game sounds interesting to you, get it on Steam, link is in the description. Really quickly, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to join the Goblin Horde. Now, what is it? Deathbound is an indie Souls-like, the type of game very common on the market today. So it tries to differentiate itself by, according to the devs, being party-based, meaning you can and kinda have to change between characters on the fly while also trying to present a compelling story. But does it? Let's check out the story first. The story starts out very promising, with taking control of Theron, a sword and boar character with a very familiar playstyle. He is a crusader in the service of Goddess of Death, trying to eliminate everyone serving the Goddess of Life. After a very small incident, you'll find another essence, Anna, who is an assassin, and they will figure out they can't die and set out to find out why. Along the way, they'll meet other essences. It's 7 in total, so you have 7 characters you can play with. The thing is though, Theron is really well thought out, well written and well acted, while others are lacking. When I first got Anna and heard the voice acting, I was less than impressed. Same with Yulia, another essence. Let's just take a listen to it.
Not all who wish to live are thine enemies, and not all who bring death in thy name are thy true servants.
The direction here is very bad, and Yulia's Slavic accent is worse than my English. Being from a Slavic country myself, I know what I'm talking about. Along with that, Anna just doesn't fit. She's dropping F-bombs everywhere and just is unpleasant all around. The story had a lot of potential, but farther you go, the less interested you become in it, even though with all characters having their own backstories, which should interest you, but they just don't. Next up we have gameplay and mechanics. So maybe the story isn't what we're here for. We're here for satisfying combat and all-around awesomeness. How does Deathbound compare to its competition here? Well, again, good ideas with lackluster execution. Combat is serviceable, but there are some decisions here which make little to no sense. One example is at the beginning, you'll sneak behind the enemy with Theron and no backstab. Later on, Anna the assassin can do it, but it seems weird to me that a Crusader Knight wouldn't backstab the enemy and would rather decide to whack them with a sword. Another decision which kind of hinders the enjoyment of the game is frustrating enemy placement, which keeps getting worse as you progress. Now, we all know Souls-likes and how they sometimes try to surprise us with sticking archers, where you have to traverse on small beams and so on, but it's not fun when this keeps happening too often. Deathbounds like to cram a lot of enemies in very small places, which at first seems hard, but as you learn to play it's just tedious. The same goes for ranged enemies. There will be like 3 or 4 of them in a place you can't reach. I tried to target them with ranged characters, but I couldn't do it, and they had no problem shooting at me. It doesn't help that you can regularly get stuck on smallest of objects too, but the worst of all, by far, is the decision to have stamina bar at the same time as the health bar. I can't express how frustrating this can be, especially in boss fights where things can become a bit frantic later on. Yes, you have the morph strike, which helps out a lot, meaning whilst mid-attack you can change to other character who then performs a morph strike if the dodge has charges, but the problem is, with dodge being extremely bad combined with stamina being linked to health bar, the combat can be more frustrating than fun, which is a shame because the foundations is good, but the execution is just not good enough. Graphic, level design and leveling is next. So another staple of Souls-like is good level design, with great vertical and horizontal exploration and exciting items to find. The most interesting find in Deathbound is new essences. Other than that, you'll find some lore equipable items except weapons, which are the same for characters. They are set, so each character starts out with a weapon and finishes with it. So exploration doesn't matter too much, unless you want more consumables to help you out, which in all honesty, after you learn the game, you won't need so much. Quick PSA though, the first healing item you find has a downside to it. It heals the essences you're using, but takes some health from the other ones. As you land attacks though, they do heal up if you're not using those. So level design as a whole is pretty uninspired. Many times it seems the areas were just kind of thrown together to make them sort of fit, and that's it. You can find some shortcuts to phylacteries, which function as bonfires, of course, where you level up, you upgrade your characters, and you'll want to find those because they are very few and far between. I like the challenge, but in Deathbound they're really rare, and sometimes you'll struggle to get from one to another. Mostly at the beginning, but it's still nice to have a shortcut near a boss, because running to the boss if you don't have one unlocked can be rough and time consuming. Leveling is again pretty lackluster, because mostly it's just a small percentage of a stat. A lot of time it will seem insignificant and you'll need to level up quite a lot to see an improvement. You can also find memories of characters, and if the correct one is out you can see the memory, which is pretty cool mechanic, I like that. You gain a point for that particular character and can upgrade their skills. These do help out, but ultimately the leveling doesn't offer any variety in builds, which is a little disappointing. This, combined with the fact that sometimes you'll be pretty much forced into changing characters because the one you like just isn't equipped to deal with the threat, makes for a tedious experience. Sometimes trying to be too different to stand out isn't the right decision. Something like Lies of P strikes a perfect balance, while Deathbound is trying too much and it lacks sense of direction. As a result, none of the mechanics are fully developed and everything seems a bit half-baked. The game really needed a more time in the oven and a bit of a clearer direction. Now, I'll touch on bosses here a little bit. They are pretty good, but in the end they are kinda samey, they are not too hard. And the first boss has a cool mechanic, he's blind, and it has 3 phases. In the last phase he kind of decides he'll get a LASIK surgery so he can see, but that never repeated later on, so I was very surprised by that. But overall, bosses are the most fun part of the game. They're good fights, so you will enjoy them, but overall the mechanics of the game just make it kind of not good enough for now. Deathbound tries to stand out in the sea of indie souls-likes, but because it's trying too hard, it fails to be an enjoyable experience. It really does have a lot of good ideas, but none of them is fully developed and it hinders the overall experience. There is a good foundation here, but overall it just doesn't cut it, and if you're yearning for a good Souls-like experience, you can find better games for your money. Maybe with updates and fixes later on, Deathbound can become worth it. Right now, I'd say wait for sale. Okay, so this was my review of Deathbound. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, comment. Next up we will have Age of Mythology Retold is coming out, so I'll do that one. Until next time, Goblin out. Bye.